Hello? Hello? Actually, I'm different. Abundance in the matter. Son more or less. Eh? Never send Kulama bed. Uganye nguku so Kulama tapi. I'm tapi. I'm tapis. Tapals. What? Archipels. Hmm? Mhlambe sokhulena sone testosterone eyondlula ulomama. Mm, I'm fine. I'm about to start eh, my Wednesday things now. So otherwise good. Maybe we'll talk after that now. Because I just want to because now it's almost 6 day. So we're starting at 6. I just want to test some things. Yeah. No, but condolences is a times and the problem. Okay? It's in the end, I think during the day. Yeah. Okay, sure. Okay. Okay. Done. Ita, I think your camera is only you need to have your full face because we can only see. Yeah, now you're good. Now, of course, I'm sure you realize that you are muted, ne? But otherwise you're good.
Oh, sorry. Am I okay now?
Now you're okay now. You are okay now.
Thanks.
Awesome. So do you
Okay.
want to then to load your presentation?
Yes, that's what I wanted to do now.
Awesome.
Mm, let's see.
Are you winning?
Yes, I'm almost there.
Oh, that's fine. Take your time.
I don't know what I need to do here.
You press
Now I'm
your
struggling.
did you press the arrow, ne? That's going up.
The
Yes.
arrow that is there.
Now you did, yeah. Now we can see it.
You can see it.
Yeah. So it's fine. I mean, like if you click on it, if you click on the presentation,
Is it?
you,
Is it?
yeah, it is visible. So all you can do then is to probably just put it on slideshow.
Okay.
Hey, Bob is your uncle. You were born to do this.
Is it okay now?
It is perfect.
Okay, but I can't see. I can't see the other features because it, the screen just gets close. It covers the entire. The presentation covers the entire screen,
Which
so I
other
can't
features do you want to
see.
see?
No, I mean I can't see the
The audience or yourself?
audience. Yes, or myself. Yes.
That's
Are
that.
you able to see me?
Yes, we can see you. So that's the trade-off. That's because you have to focus on your presentation.
Okay. Kufuneka ngingayikhandi-ke ngoba uma ngingayikhanda ngizogcina
Yeah,
sengibona
yeah. So yeah. So if you forgot to put your makeup, there is just no time for you to realize that you're blushing now.
They will see my ugly face, don't worry.
You see, so that's it, man. No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Okay. Yeah, but people are logging in.
Okay, I'll get the indication from you
Yeah,
when I have to start.
sure. Let's just give them a few minutes. I think in the meantime, if you want, you can switch off your video if you want.
Okay.
Is it not there at the top?
No, I can't see it.
Okay, then click. No, sorry. Leave that screen where you are as it is. Go at the bottom and look for Teams. Click on Teams at the very bottom.
Unless I think what it requires is that I end the slideshow
Yeah,
and then go back to it.
sure.
So I can switch off my video in the meantime.
Yeah, yes. I'm saying you can switch off your video in the meantime while comrades are logging in.
Okay.
Sí, ahora sí. Commissar Castro, how is the load shedding situation there now?
There's nothing so far that I've heard. Was there a threat of load shedding today?
Well, I know
Because I haven't heard
in
anything
my
so
area, I mean, like my kids, I think for a good 18 hours yesterday they didn't have electricity, but I think
electricity.
it had to do with a substation or something like that. When I actually heard
That
from
could be
them,
the case.
but I think
That could be the case.
it was resolved. But um,
There's nothing so far that I've heard
okay,
from. Yeah,
yeah,
there's no threat so
okay. So at least there is a bit of stability there. Yeah, you see, like some comrades are actually just logging in now, and yeah, let's just give them a few minutes. I see you managed to be on despite your struggles.
Oh, I keep on trying leadership. I keep on trying. It's on and off. But I was just indicating
Yeah.
it to say it must not seem to be strange. That's
No,
my
no, that's
challenge.
fine.
Thank you, Doctor.
That is fine.
Thank you.
Welcome, comrades. I think what you just need to do now is I don't know why do you have like split screen here, but what you actually need to do now is to actually just give some of the comrades that should just busy trying to log in a little bit of time, but there is something that we can do in the meantime. We can. I mean, I've got a whole lot of things to talk about, so I think we can actually do that. The experience is that comrades tend to uh, come in about 30 minutes or so after 6, like half past 6. Some of them, they tend to confuse the times and everything else. Of course, there is traffic and all other issues as well. Commissar Castro, what do you think?
I think let's wait until all the comrades have logged in.
Yeah,
That's possible.
but I think it's quite important to actually just welcome everybody who's actually here, and I should just acknowledge them. We all see you. Thank you very much, Comrade Mina. We can see you, and of course, everybody else, we are able to see you. So, welcome, and hopefully, in no time, we'll be able to start. And maybe in the next few minutes, we can actually just talk about some of these issues freestyle until everybody's actually on the call, and then we can continue with our presentation. Thanks.
And why can't, in the meantime, talk about the 60th anniversary?
Yes, that is
Because
one
in
of the
two
things
weeks'
that
time,
we can talk about.
hear what other comrades have to say.
Yes, maybe what we can actually do is to first start by finding out what is it that the comrades actually know so far in relation to that, and then we can take it from there. Do we know? Sorry. Do we know what is happening in relation to that so far? Anyone wants to share what you expect? Comrade Kasha, do you want to lead that?
Yeah, no, because I had some provinces I have already have planned, but not yet concretized. Because I had, for example, in KZN, it seems like they are planning to have a provincial get together. I don't know, also in Mpumalanga, maybe 60 can update us when he's logged in with regard to Mpumalanga. Because I heard rumors also that they are planning also something that side. But I haven't heard anything with regard to Gauteng. Gauteng, it's quiet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Um, I think you saw the message I actually shared with Brasnoki on this. It does look like there is quite an intense program that is planned, that will actually cover the provinces and of course national, and some of these events they actually start as early as the 10th. Now it's a pity that's some of us who are actually out of the country, were not able to make it on time because of this stupid ban. Now, it would have been actually quite nice to be there and actually just be part of everything else. But we sort of stranded in some way, because there is one fear of actually just going in, and then you are unable to return to where you normally are residing because of all the stupid closures. But he did indicate that there is something for the provinces, and there is something for, like for national, so to speak, and a whole lot of programs, golf days and medals and all sorts of other things to be given. Is there anybody who actually knows a little bit more in terms of Gauteng? Where are we in terms of that? Comrade Tipua, good late afternoon or good evening. Do you know anything about that, my leader? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, good evening, comrades. I'm completely out of the loop. I actually was trying today to try and catch up with some of the WhatsApps. able to follow WhatsApp discussions. I'm completely out of the loop until the filing season closes on Friday, on Thursday.
Yes, no, I'm sure you're actually snowed under. You're actually snowed under. Well, maybe just to read some of the highlights that Prasnuki mentioned was that on the sixth on the 60th anniversary of MK, plans are well ahead. We'll be hosting a fundraising golf day to commemorate the 60th anniversary of MK on the 14th of December. So there is a golf day on the 14th of December for those who play golf. And then on the 16th December, we'll be commemorating the 60th anniversary of MK at Freedom Park. So people will be there at Freedom Park. Members of the Little Detachment will be awarded the 60th medals and will also recognize international solidarity. Comrades who played an important role in our struggle for liberation, obviously. Now, the plans are to have provincial commemoration events at our nine provinces. Now, he said till 2021. I think it's probably till 2022 because, yeah. And all members of MK who are on the DMV database and belong to different detachments will also be awarded with the 60th anniversary medals. And on the 10th, he went on to say, on the 10th December, former President Mbeki will deliver a lecture on Chief Albert Lutuli and also pay tribute to MK fighters who were part of the pillar of our struggle. On the 10th December, Comrade Jegi Sedibe will open a permanent exhibition of MK communication signal. The permanent MK signal exhibition is placed at Dizong Museum. So that's sort of a bit of Kulikov, on that, but nothing concrete until something is concrete. And when it comes to the conference, that is still like a unicorn. It's everyone think no one knows anything about the conference for XMK, and it's also worrying because it means all the celebrations will take place when we do not have a single united structure as yet. So that is just a brief on my side. I don't know if there is anyone who actually wants to add or ask any question in relation to that. But I find it as quite unfortunate that 60th anniversary, we're actually going there in our weakest as a unit within the ANC, but then of course as the ANC as a whole, it's quite unfortunate.
Yeah, because really it was an epoch-making event, to establish MK at a time when the movements were banned. So very much critical that the ANC itself should have taken it upon itself to make it a point that this 60th anniversary is widely celebrated, and that even publicized in the mass media. It seems like really we are killing this MK brand.
Yeah. Ukomre visu magamutela. Yeah, no, like it is heartbreaking, but it is what it is. We just need to find a way of keep moving on. I'm like really trying to fix the screen. I have no idea what happened here. And we can only see one man. Hey, Mr. Motorman, we, 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 we can only see you alone on the screens, and I don't know how to help you with that.
Yes, Comrade Malik. It seems also I'm only seeing myself only.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it must
On
be
the, on the,
it must feel like you're looking at a mirror.
yes, certainly. Certainly.
I just have no way of what happens when you switch off your camera? Can you just try
Switch
that?
off my.
Yeah, just the
Okay,
camera, the video camera.
it's off.
Okay. Yeah. But the screen is still like quite a strange screen.
Mm. Yes.
It is still quite a strange screen. Okay.
No. Yaphumile manje.
Upumile.
Ngiyangena. Seems Are you getting it right, Comrade Malik?
No, but you can put on your
Hello?
you can put back you can put back on your camera. I think yeah, I'm actually just not sure why is it doing what it is doing.
Oh.
Yeah. We'll need to make a decision soon, Commissar Castro.
I propose we should get started. The comrades who are not there, they will find us on Basel Itolikit.
I seem to agree with that. Is there anyone who has got a violent opposition to that? I mean, for those who are here, we might as well just make it count. We are here anyway, and others will just catch us on the move. I mean, I see others that are still sending messages. They're struggling to log in for one reason or the other. So on the other side, I'm just trying to understand what their problem is. But the problem is that comrades leave these things quite late. So Ele, we continue, right? Can I take it there is no opposition there? All right. Now,
None from my side.
okay, awesome. So I think then what
There
I'll
are
do,
comrades who are still
yeah,
struggling to link up. I see some of them from other chat groups are sending the request for the links.
yeah. Can you forward it to them on your side because I've
Yeah,
given you,
I am.
yeah.
I am doing that. I am doing that right now.
Okay, sure. They always leave this. Yeah, others they've got electricity problems and all sorts of things, but a number of them leave it quite late. Commissar Castro, I think we should start.
Okay.
Just, yeah. I think on my side, what I just need to do is to effectively keep monitoring what the comrades actually struggling with on the side, but we just have to continue starting. We have to start. Now, just for those who actually don't know Commissar Castro, I mean, there wouldn't be many. He's obviously MK, young lad. Now, Commissar Castro effectively worked in government I mean, at a very senior position, a senior level. He worked, in the security and intelligence sector for Home Affairs and, of course, other areas as well, and including Transnet. Now, in terms of qualifications, he has got the highest qualification he has, not the only. The highest qualification he has is a master's degree in military science, and he has also worked, with the military academy, lecturing there our young ones. And I do think that one of the things that for me I actually enjoyed quite a lot with him is his creative side of things. That's why when it comes to things like heritage, culture and arts related issues, I think for me, he's the go-to man. And I mean, if you look at, in his work, effectively in his background, now you will probably think that those are photos, but it actually comes from his sharp pen and his brilliant mind. And we welcome him today, and we hope to learn a little bit more about what to do with our legacy as XMK and, of course, our heritage. Okay, my chief, you go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks, Malik. Let me try and upload
Navigate
the
technology.
presentation. Is it okay? Is it visible?
Yes, if you want to put it on slides, slideshow.
Yeah, put it on slideshow.
Yeah, but it is visible.
Oh. Okay. Good evening, comrades. Although we started late, I'll try and push and not take much of your time. The topic for today is preserving and advocating MK's heritage. Firstly, our first commander-in-chief, Comrade Nelson Mandela, the late, when describing heritage, he said our rich and varied cultural heritage has a profound power to help build our new nation. So, as a form of introduction, is that firstly, I would like to look at MK, that the significance of our achievements as MK revolves around not so much on victorious battles and liberated zones, as most classical guerrilla forces used to do. They used to liberate zones and occupy those areas and run those areas. But in our case, because of the nature of the enemy we were fighting against, these were not really possible. But what we did was establish armed propaganda actions which anchored and inspired our people's determination to resist the tyranny of white rule. Furthermore, at a time when the enemy seemed to have emasculated the people's resistance, especially if we remember during the 60s, the early 70s, and also between the 77 and the 80s, early 80s, the enemy seemed to have emasculated the people's resistance. It was MK which held up the torch of struggle and served an unparalleled example of a spirit of no surrender. This quotation I took from from our late Commissar and Chief of Staff, Comrade Krisa. What does it mean for our children to be MK veterans? The most important lesson that they learn from their parents is that change is possible. It is possible to have a vision of a better world and make it happen. This is one big lesson that our children learn. The second most important lesson that they learn from us as MK veterans is that as their parents, we taught them about courage. They were not afraid, MK veterans were not afraid to take on the formidable might of the apartheid regime. So this inspires our kids. Thirdly is the issue of idealism and pragmatism. That their parents work hard and methodically, and not for personal gain, but to create a healthier society. To a large extent, what they fought for over decades, they achieved. So our children have that pride that we managed to achieve a democratic, non-racial South Africa, and that their parents had friends of all backgrounds. Because of the nature of where we come from, we had friends from various backgrounds, friends from Western Cape, friends from the Northern Cape, friends from Limpopo, and also this encourage them that this is actually a new type of character that MK had emerged. Also, in terms of race, ethnicity, MK was involved all these elements together, and we were able to create a uniquely South African character, and also being particularly African. And our kids are proud of what we have achieved as MK, as former MK combatants. In this presentation, I will try and define heritage. What is heritage? What are the types of heritage that we should look at? The importance of heritage, South African heritage and identity, MK's captivating heritage, and lastly, the theme of the presentation, preserving and promoting the heritage of MK. Well, what would we then define as heritage? Heritage is the full range of our inherited traditions, monuments, objects, and culture. But most importantly, it is the range of contemporary activities, meanings, and the behaviors that we draw from them. It can be both tangible and intangible, in the sense that ideas and memories of songs, the songs that we used to sing, the jazz hour, especially those also that were promoted by Radio Freedom, began to be sung in our townships during Amar Rally and funerals and all of that. But we also have memories of the food that we used to eat at Bushini, like beans and rice, islapa, iskopo, and what have you. The language is a unique language that we spoke in the bush. For instance, we say, when these are things that are uniquely MK language. Some people, when we talk and they hear us talking about what is this that we are talking about? The types of dances and many other elements of who we are and how we identify ourselves. These are important as historical objects, buildings, and archaeological sites. Furthermore, heritage is a contemporary activity with far-reaching effects. We see on Heritage Day, for example, in our country, people wearing traditional attires, and there's this more emphasis on braais and what have you. But heritage has far-reaching effects. For instance, it can be the platform for political recognition. It can also be a medium for intercultural dialogue, where we share, for example, certain cultural traits. These are things that we need to engage in, a means of ethical reflection, how we behave in terms of our interaction with our children, with our parents, with our grandparents, etc. And also it can create the potential basis for local economic development. This is very critical because we are, as a country, for example, it is disheartening that our culture is not that much promoted as we should. I remember, for example, with regard to Mobutu Sese Seko in the then Zaire, where he made sure that music of Zaire was promoted throughout the continent. You'll find Ko Makeni or Emasdale or Stanley Pine in the Lusaka CBD will be playing music of Pepe Kale, Kanda Pongomane, you know, about Kofi Olomide. So this promotion of our culture, it's something that we should actually take very serious consideration of. Currently, for example, we know of American musicians, OJs and what they do, the Commodores. It's because they had a deliberate drive to promote their own heritage and culture. And the culture the heritage can be also simultaneously local and particular, but it can also be global and shared. So there are things that you may find when you interact with people versus Jamaica, for example, that they share certain cultures, that cultural traits with us as South African. You can go maybe Cuba, for example, you find that there are things that we share with the Cubans, which maybe we do not share with other nationalities. So heritage is an essential part of the present we live in and the future we build. So fundamentally, heritage is a brand. We need to approach it as such, as a brand that needs to be protected and be promoted. What are the types of heritage that we have? Our heritage comprises of the tangible, our sites, historical sites, buildings, monuments, objects in museums, artifacts and archives. The natural, our waterways, landscapes, woodlands, and the native wildlife, insects, plants, trees. We've got, for instance, unique plants and animals that the big five, for example, that belong to our country. The protea plant, which is uniquely South African. You know, there are those, the natural features that we have only in our country, which also make us proud as South Africans. And then we've got the intangibles, our customs, our sports, the arts, the music, the dance. For example, it's uniquely South African. You know, our folklore, our crafts, our skills and tradition. These are things that we are, that make us who we are. They provide us with a common language and insights that enable us to communicate on a deep level with each other and to express ourselves in a unique way to the outside world. They make us a unique brand that we should be able to promote and preserve. What is the importance of heritage? In helping shape our identity, our heritage becomes part of what we are. It therefore highlights our values and priorities. It provides clues to our past, where do we come from, and how our society has evolved. In examining our history and traditions, this enables us to develop an awareness about who are we really, an awareness about ourselves. It helps us to understand and explain why we are the way we are. Heritage is a keystone of our culture that plays an important role in our politics, in our society, in our business, and also in our welfare. It therefore informs, influences, and inspires public debate and policy, both directly and indirectly. Now, getting into South African heritage and identity, what is interesting about South Africa is that their culture, languages, and heritage are multiple, diverse, and very dynamic. You know, when you move to the Western Cape, you meet a guy speaking in this type of English, saying, hey, man, if you go straight in the Cape, you get everything you want, my friend. You know, it's very unique and typical Caps language, that the way they talk. You go to Limpopo, you go to the Northern Cape, you go to the Eastern Cape, Betachapa. These are diverse elements that, when brought together, they make a very interesting melting pot. The intersectional issues of gender, ethnicity, and race further complicate the matter of identity and make it highly inadvisable to categorize the different people contained within South Africa's border. But through the interchange of cultures and sharing of cultural influences in the age of globalization, there defiantly remains a tapestry of phenomena which can identifiably and unambiguously be termed South Africa. When we are in Europe, we used to be able to say, hey, Manyazi, hey, Kibone, somebody there wearing this type of and walking in a different way. That guy is definitely South Africa. There is that element that defines us as South Africa, even in our language, in our interactions, our actions, our movements, the type of music we listen to, and all those elements which make us uniquely South African. Now, if you look at heritage promotion and preservation program, this is a program of the Department of Arts and Culture in trying to preserve and promote our heritage as South African. It is responsible for the identification, collection, safeguarding, promotion, and transformation of the South African heritage, archives, heraldry, and libraries. It covers the work of the following sub-programs. Firstly, there is a sub-program on heritage promotion and preservation. This has, for example, the first one is the heritage institutional development. The Department of Arts and Culture, Sports Arts and Culture has researchers who are doing research. They are also interacting with other institutions in terms of developing our heritage. And then we have also the Bureau of Heraldry. This is a very interesting structure or institution within the Department of Arts and Culture. It's where the badges, the arms, the flags, the seals, the logos, the banners can be registered. for a particular type of society. Certain even entities like business entities, they register their logos so that the logo remains uniquely yours and you have ownership over it. So nobody can easily use your logo without your permission. So this institution helps with the processing of such badges, insignia. Mainly the military is the main customer of the Bureau of Heraldry. For their units, there are various military units, particularly the Army, which has various units. Each, for instance, battalion, you'll find it has its own insignia. This insignia, it's an insignia that is registered. It is there in the Bureau of Heraldry's archive. So nobody can interfere with such an insignia. Living heritage is a structure also within the Department of Arts and Culture, which looks at develop music, arts, and culture that is evolving. And then you have also an entity that looks at policy, research, and development around the issue of heritage. Then we've got the National Archives and Record Services of South Africa, the National Film, Video, and Sound Archives, the Records Management and Information Services, the National Archives, as well as the Library Policy Coordination and Library Service. These are very important institutions that we need to take into consideration when we want to make sure that we preserve and promote our culture. I'll get back to them later on when we deal with the last part of the presentation. MK is captivating heritage. I said it's captivating because the story of MK, as Umkhonto is widely and colloquially known in South Africa, is one of paradox and contradiction, successes and failure. Umkhonto was a people's army fighting a people's war of national liberation. We said we would go to Pretoria, but they never got to march triumphantly into Pretoria. It was a small group of dedicated revolutionaries trained by the Soviet Union mainly and its allies. They were committed to the seizure of state power, but instead found their principals engaged in negotiated settlement with the enemy as the winds of global politics shifted in the late 1980s. This is a very interesting aspect about who MK is, and there are documents being written and research being done currently about MK's military and revolutionary history. I'll get back to this as we go on. MK and the ANC heritage. Firstly, the arts and culture and heritage, as well as history of MK, are inseparable from that of the ANC. We are, as MK, children of the ANC, and our culture, our history, and our heritage is inseparable from that of the ANC. As the two were, including the South African Communist Party, are the intertwined primary protagonists in the revolutionary history of South Africa. If you look at the revolutionary and military heritage of MK, there is a strong case to be made that MK's armed struggle will be remembered as an example of a just war conducted with considerable restraint. For instance, we wanted to go and sit Shaiki, but our politics, the way we were groomed politically in the bushes, taught us in terms of what targets to identify and deal with, told us in terms of what the nature of operations we should undertake. But primarily, MK soldiers were undoubtedly South African patriots. They remained as such, fighting a just cause to the end, to end the apartheid regime and create a united and inclusive national democratic state. MK achieved this objective. Whatever criticism can be made of the strategies they used or the nature of South African society, this can be argued because, for example, I've read certain writings by military researchers who tend to vilify MK's revolutionary struggle as if it was not effective. Actually, it was very effective. And in years to come, actually in decades or centuries to come, the South African revolutionary struggle and its type of guerrilla warfare will be studied immensely in terms of the uniqueness. It's totally different from other revolutionary struggles. We'll at some stage discuss this. We'll have time maybe to discuss this when we look at MK military history in some other sessions in future. If we look at the cultural dimension of MK, MK also has a unique positive view of the culture of exile, and which was viewed as a weapon of struggle. MKK does develop the perspective that culture is us. It is who we are, how we see ourselves, and the vision we have of the world. For instance, I made an example of the jazz hour. I remember a swimming pool at Vienna when we had the jazz hour on Monday evening. It's a unique thing. This music we used to sing there in that swimming pool, it was music when we were still at home. We listened to Radio Freedom. And now we were there singing it in the swimming pool there and Sishaingwa. It's a unique culture, culture MK. Then looking at the cultural, the development of culture within the MK and ANC, there was the Maibuye Cultural Ensemble, which emerged in London in the 70s. One of the prominent products of that Maibuye Cultural Ensemble was the production of the publication called Poets to the People. Most of these poems that they came up with there, Abu Ronica's Reels, for example, were poems that were recited in the bushes during our cultural events. And they ended up also being recited inside the country if we had rallies and funerals. This marketed the MK and the ANC abroad. Then we also had the Medu Art Ensemble, which was mainly based in Botswana, specializing in music, theater, graphics and visual arts, photography and writing. These were mainly artists, Abo Brawili, Hotsisile, Abo Brawtaminyele, Abo Brawali Serote, and they produced a unique brand of culture that went into the country. It also intersected with the Black consciousness, culture, the arts of those guys who were in the Rock Reef Arts and Culture Center. And then we also had the Amanda Cultural Ensemble. This was the most popular ambassador for the ANC global. It marketed the ANC. It created a robust anti-apartheid movement abroad in many countries. Amandla became a very potent weapon for marketing our struggle abroad. And now looking at the post-apartheid MK, what is happening with the post-apartheid MK? There are myths within our society that are prevalent about the ANC and MK in exile, that we had a cushy time in exile. People were fighting and dying here inside the country, but we were, we're relaxed and enjoying ourselves. But they tend to ignore the trauma of exile. Exile was not an easy place to be. For example, the effects of malaria that we suffered in the camps, and also the Northern Front, the Eastern Front, and before then our predecessors in the Lutuli detachment in the Wanki and Spolilo campaign. These are things that people are not aware of, that we should make them aware. I've heard, for instance, Julius Malema speaking as if we were in exile just to running away from the system, and we were secured and pushed there. Life was not easy when we stayed in the camps in Angola and also in Tanzania and Uganda. So many of our cadres who returned from Angola, Tanzania, and Uganda are today they are struggling. It's difficult for them. Some of them are sleeping without having a meal. Life is tough for most of our comrades. Also, comrades suffer from post-traumatic stress as a result of involvement in military actions in the Northern Front, even in the front inside the country, the torture and execution of alleged spies, as well as sexual abuse in the camp. But most importantly, what remains important about us is that we are still remain comrades. The name comrade means a lot to us. The comradeship that we share can never be diminished. And now preserving and promoting the heritage of MK, the Unity Conference of ExMK cadres, which was supposed to be held towards the end of this year. I don't know, the dates is not yet been sorted out. Should establish a dedicated desk towards the championing of MK heritage, particularly its history, culture, and tradition. The development of MK archives, heraldry, and libraries in conjunction with institutions of higher learning. We should engage with Abu Maibuya Center in the University of the Western Cape. There is also a liberation archives in University of Fort Hare, the Military Academy in Saldanha Bay, which is a faculty of military science for the University of Stellenbosch, which is interconnected with the South African National Defence Force. Those institutions, CVET also has an Africana section, which has a specific focus on our liberation struggle. These we should interact and engage with once we have established that heritage desk within MK, and also we should transform the Department of Military Veterans to establish a branch on military veterans heritage. This should be a branch usually is headed by Deputy Director General. It should have close links with the National Heritage Council, the South African Heritage Resource Agency, as well as Freedom Park. And in conclusion, They should be under this branch I was talking about at DMV. There should be chief directorates for heritage, institutional research and development, meaning monuments, museums, artifacts, and statues. We should establish monuments. There are monuments that have been established, for instance, in Madola, in Vienna, but there are areas where we still have to establish monuments. For instance, in Mazimbu, in Tanzania, maybe even in Dakawa, also in Uganda, the camps that we have had in Uganda and Tanzania, and also in certain other areas in the front line in Southern Africa, like for example in Zimbabwe, Zambia. We should establish monuments. We should have museums that are specifically designed to cater for our liberation struggle. Arts, the artists should be promoted, and we should have statues of Abu Gordon Dikebu, statues of Banimolokwane, their paintings all over the country. People should know about these guys. In our provinces, we should have such facilities that promote our heritage as MK. The Herald must be actually utilized effectively in terms of our insignia, as we can have Ukila Men being registered as a registered logo, MK, that nobody else can use it, but only us can own it. Also, our medals, we have medals being done at the heraldry, being registered so that they can be recognized internationally, as well as that the chief directorate should also be responsible for the repatriation of the remains of our comrades who are lying in graves in Angola, in Tanzania, in Zambia, and elsewhere. And also, we should establish a chief directorate responsible for the liberation, war records management, the publication, the books that comrades write must be published. And we should look at even possibilities of having even cartoon strips that children can look talking about MK's heritage and culture. Cultural heritage in terms of the arts, films, videos, and sound data. These are things that a chief directorate that is going to specifically focus on this. I've seen films, I've seen stage plays, but it's not our comrades who are promoting these things. They are done by other people. I think we should start owning these things, establishing these capabilities and efforts in our provinces, in our localities, where we can be able to make comrades earn something out of promoting our heritage. There are three major principles that we have to focus on in terms of our heritage promotion and preservation. Is that we should take MK as a brand. It should be regarded as a brand in association with other brands that we have, like the ANC brand. We should protect it. We should champion the MK and also SACP and the trade union movement, especially SACP, because of the history that we share with these entities. In terms of also promoting our liberation war history, we should also adopt a patriotic brand approach. with other former liberation forces within the auspices of the Liberation War veteran in the development and promotion of the South African War of Liberation, including the wars of resistance. The wars of resistance, we should own them. Actually, I was telling some comrades that, we've got two icons that are more popular in the world than even Jesus Christ himself. I'm not being blasphemous, sorry for those who are Christian. The icon of Mandela is the most popular icon in the world than any other icon. The second icon that is also very popular in the world is the icon of Shaka Zulu. And these icons are ours as MP. And we should actually promote them. They are South African icons that we should be able to promote them and be proud of. That Mandela was the first commander-in-chief of our glorious army. And then we should also, the third important principle is to establish a robust research and development company that will do research on how we can benefit out of our heritage in terms of ensuring benefits through facilitating poverty reduction, socio-economic development, and community development, particularly for the veterans and their descendants. We really have to do or establish an institution or a structure that will do thorough research in terms of how we can obtain benefit from our heritage and culture. Amanda, thank you.
Amanda.
Wait.
Awesome. No, thank you very much, Comrade Castro. I seem to have an echo. But thank you very much for a wonderful presentation. Now it's the time for us to engage with the content. Any question, any comment, any input, we go ahead. The floor is open. Are we scared? Or we're like more overwhelmed? Because obviously, I mean, it was a very good presentation. I mean, like for me, you know these things, but once they're actually tied up the way that you have, they actually make more sense because you see, if you look at South Africa, we always struggle in one way or another to actually say what is our South African identity. And I think you've answered a whole lot of a whole lot of questions in terms of probably what it should be, as well. And then that gives us something to fight for. Comrade Mina, go ahead.
Good evening, comrades. Thank you very much, Comrade Castro. I don't have a question. I've just learned so much and I've been taking notes. But I wanted to make a suggestion that probably you should be part of the ANC political school and this be integrated as part of the curricula. I think it's more important now because the brand MK is really in trouble. Like the brand ANC is in trouble, but I think MK is even more trouble. And like you said, we're hoping that the unity conference will help us to start afresh and rebuild the confidence that the people in spite of all the difficulties still have in MK, though that is challenged every day. So I just wanted to suggest that probably this needs to be incorporated as part of the ANC political school curriculum, and you be the presenter of that. Thanks, Comrade Malik.
You didn't hear it from me. So when I molest you about it later on, don't complain, my friend. So, yeah. But thanks, Comrade Tipu, about that. I mean, like you are spot on. You go to a whole lot of countries, you see how they market those countries, and effectively how strong the intersection is between heritage culture, on the one side, and of course the whole issue of patriotism on the other, which is linked directly to identity, and then of course tourism, like commerce, in that. So these are actually quite critical. I mean, you go to Galicia, where Fidel Castro's father was born. His place is actually a museum, almost like everybody knows that Fidel Castro was there. Now, can you imagine if it was actually Fidel Castro himself who was born there? Now, we have all of this that could help in promoting rural tourism, and I do think that there is an angle there too, in addition to empowering us to know much more about heritage and culture as you've actually handled it. But wonderful. I think I'll start with you, Ish. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you because you are talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Now, first of all, thank you very much for the really insightful presentation. I thought I knew a bit, but you sort of exposed my ignorance on very terrain. Yeah. Nevertheless, two issues for me. The one is where Robben Island fits into the whole MK heritage. The second one, which I think is to do with the other side of MKK that we are still facing, that is the traumatic experience of us in general. Very little is done about it. It's almost you are sure that you have gone through a traumatic experience. Those are the two issues. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Stokes, you okay? Sorry, let's take Motomen. Go ahead, leadership. Motomen, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Comrade Malik. Thank you, Doc. What an extensive work, what an extensive paper. There are two areas that I think I should just seek to raise, but in a sense, seek to provoke and expand a debate so that we enrich it. At the beginning, Comrade Castro is identifying the dissidents when he says, what is the image, the view of our children in relation to what we have been doing. But now, at the center, therefore, of my question is the question of who exactly are the custodian of the heritage viewed in totality, as the paper seeks to unpack, the custodians. Now, I don't know whether I might be a bit controversial when I say partly when you go to level 1 preschool curriculum at school, that is the area where the youth are being now nurtured, you rarely come across this very, very important culture of this animal or the nature of this animal MK. Because MK is Slwane Majaha. MK is a unique animal, but I'm saying this, I'm having two young boys here. One is 8, the other one is 12. They are searching to understand exactly what is MK, and the only area that they can get mostly of what Castro is at the center where they live 24/7 at school, but there's nothing. Now the question is therefore, how, if I do identify the youth, if I do identify the majority of young blacks, because MK, though we were fighting for a non-racial society, but you would agree with me to say mainly section of our society may not embrace MK as it would be embraced as their own by the black majority, who we in the main Africans we represented. I think that's the question that I just wanted to seek to understand the role, the nature, because everywhere government, the heritage, the arts and culture, one can find or can see, but you only find when you search. You do not, it's not brought to you at a tender age, which seeks to inculcate even the culture of patriotism. I think I'm making a sense, but please pardon me if I missed, because my network is somewhat problematic. If I missed you here and
We
there,
have heard
please
you
assist
well.
on your leadership. Thank you.
We have heard you very well. Thank you very much. Thanks for that. Great input, great questions. You've captured them. Let's take the last one for now. Folks, shoot from the hip, my brother. Just don't miss.
No, thanks. Thanks, Commissioner. Good.
We can't hear you.
Really don't?
Now we can.
Okay, that's better. Thanking yourself, Chair, and greetings to all comrades on the platform. Appreciating the presentation by Comrade Casco very much. Amplifying what Comrade Mina was just saying. That it is very informative, quite educative, and this should not only be the preserve of us sitting here, it needs to go out. Let me first as well say it has to go into the ANC space as part of the ANC educational space. In the program where we are busy with political education. That's the first one. But the second one is that we don't have to wait for that. We perhaps have to, there are so many platforms today that IT and the 4IR industry is giving us, that perhaps need to just polish it, Comrade Castro, and invite some inputs like the input made about Robben Island and other areas that I would also mention, that we include those areas and any other that might come across that contributes to that literature, and record this, both in a form of virtual and recordings, that we could take it as a tape that can be circulated even before it gets to the ANC, but it can just spiral around. People can just read this material. The notes that we have sent to us, accompanying those visuals, those recordings, and this history would assist a lot to cleanse the name of MK today, going forward. I also want to check if this, which came as a question, may not be part of the additions to the literature that you've just shared with us. One, Robben Island would have constructed some social or cultural that adds to the culture generally of MK, and how these comrades lived and schooled, and this will represent most of the prisons where prisoners are, because it forms part of the bigger culture of the MK wherever we lived. How those who came out of prison, who landed in exile, how they quickly were able to integrate into that society, because somehow it was like interlinked, and what brought us together was the political social construction of that particular society of MK everywhere. It was easy to link up with those comrades as well that were in the performing arts and culture space, and the culture that we're talking about is not only that it's performed, but it's also how we lived our life, how we operated into the country. And this brings me to the second point, which is we need to perhaps extrapolate the life of people who lived in the underground structures of MK and operated in the country, because there's a particular culture which forms the integral part of the culture that as MK we lived and survived through. And how in the frontline stage, in those safe houses, how we lived, it also informed the culture and the pattern in which our life evolved. And your signal, your antenna was forever, always upwards, picking up news, stories, not only related by the radio freedom, which is also at the center of our culture, because it cemented our culture and it transported our culture into South Africa, into the international space. So it's imperative that those areas are also brought in as part of the instrument elements that cemented our culture. So it's imperative for me to want to believe that it nourished the young people who were brought up in Tanzania, because we had to socialize them in a particular fashion. Those who were born there, and they were not South Africans, but they had a clue of how that destination, South Africa, would look like or is like. So this helped them to have a window on these particular countries that they have never been and they belong to it. So it is because of how we lived and cultured them in that particular space. And so I was thinking it would add more value for us to encapsulate those areas, because we're talking culture and is the way we lived. And some lived in this underground world, some in prisons, some in those areas, and the operations as you encapsulated them or highlighted them forms part of that bigger picture. Thanks, Chair.
Awesome. Thanks, Lux. Commissar Castro, I'm sure you will probably want to react firstly to what uh, Comrade Mina actually said, and then, of course, you have the questions from Ish and Motorman. I can repeat them if you miss them. Are we together?
There was only a slight challenge with Commander Shook's input questions. Somewhere I got him, but there were some areas that I was missing.
No, that's fine.
If you can repeat just slightly on him.
Yeah, no, at least what he was doing, he was just summing it up, effectively, tying all these various inputs in terms of where this could actually go. So he's actually enriching more than asking specific questions. So yeah, he's empowering in that sense.
Okay. No, because I think his inputs will help. For example, I hear him speaking about the issue of underground structures as well as the frontline states, what was happening in the frontline states, which are very critical aspects that we need to cover. How comrades were living in countries such as Botswana, Swaziland, Mozambique, Lesotho, etc. These are aspects that need to be covered in terms of when we look at the heritage, the MK as a whole. And I must say I'm guilty as charged with regard to the issue of Robben Island. I never touched on Robben Island, which is a very critical element of our heritage as the MK. And I think we should really take ownership of it also. Because our comrades, most of our comrades, the majority of those who were incarcerated in Robben Island were our comrades there. And so we can also claim that space as part of our heritage as MK. With regard to Comrade Motorman's issue of custodianship of our heritage, definitely we should own it. That is why I was talking about the desk, establishing a desk in our structure, the unity structure that will establish, that will look at MK heritage, intertwining it with the ANC and SACP heritage. And in terms of the curriculum of the schools, I want to link it with what Comrade Tipu also raised around the curriculum of the political school. We haven't been engaged with regard to the development of the historical curriculum for our school, of which we need to fight unreservedly and thinking to make sure that our history curriculum, starting from grade 1, even at early childhood development, that we should have an impact in terms of instilling within our children that our country was not handed over in a silver platter. People fought for what we have. Our children should know that and should acknowledge that and should appreciate those efforts. And in a way, we will be instilling patriotism also on them, because by understanding that we had to fight to have the democracy that we have, to be able to regain our heritage space, our land, and even to be able to express ourselves freely and be able to develop ourselves without any hindrance, is because of efforts that were undertaken by MK combatants who did not have any interest or personal gain, but were focused on building a society that we are having right now, and which we still need to fight to make sure that it becomes the vision that we follow. Again, with regard to the issue of rural terrorism, tourism, sorry, rural tourism, sorry.
We know who was a terrorist and who was not.
Sorry for that. With regard to rural tourism, the wars of resistance provide a fertile ground for such socio-economic development avenues. For example, I know in KZN, they even have a route, the battle route, what they call the battle route, if I'm not mistaken, where you move from Durban up until you reach areas in the northern part of the province, such as Obo Newcastle, where wars were fought, the Fetane, and also the wars of resistance that were fought against the British and the Boer. These are things that we own them as MK, because we were, by the mere fact that we were formed in December 16, was a clear significance that we are a continuation of the struggle of our ancestors. And we should own this. We should establish tours, for instance, tours, people going to Tababosiu, people going to, for instance, Sandwar, going to areas where these various battles were fought. I went to an area somewhere around Pretoria North. There's a place called Silica Snack. I didn't know what Silica Snack was, but until somebody explained to me that that was an ambush area which Umzilikazi created during those wars with the Boers and the British. So those areas, we need to establish, identify them, and be able to develop our own history so that our kids could know, and we are able to take them and show them those places and establish monuments there where we can have statues, we can have huge monuments that refer to those battles, so that then the people, when they visit our provinces, they can go and see those areas. It's up to us. We have to own it, nobody else. And nobody else will do it for us unless we do it ourselves. We have to establish, that's why I was saying it's very important to establish a research and development desk that will able to assist us to push these projects, identify all these elements, and be able to assert ourselves effectively. You know, when people talk of Makoma or Hinsa or Tejwayo, they should know who are we talking about. Our children should know about it. We should be able to make our logo, Killerman logo, be at the same time with the logo, you know, each and every country you go to, you'll find people wearing a T-shirt with the Che Guevara or a cap with the Che Guevara. That became very much a prominent brand, Che Guevara brand. I don't know why the Cubans didn't own it, but we need to promote our Killerman brand as much as the Che Guevara brand is being promoted, or even compete with Abo Gucci and Abo Louis Vuitton and them. It's a brand that we need to promote as much as possible in our own way, in our own unique way. With regard to the issue of traumatic experiences and the challenge, and also what happened in Robben Island, I think there is a work stream, the PTT presentation that we had last week, although there were challenges with technology. There should have been a very specific focus on the health aspect that our comrades are facing. But besides also the health aspect, or just before I go leave the health aspect, also the fact of our children not being able to access health facilities for 1 meal and all those. These are things that we need to fight for. We have to. It's our. These are benefits that we are supposed to earn. But also with regard to the experiences, traumatic experiences of exile or prison or the battles that we fought, even inside the country. Some of our comrades who fought in the East Rand and also in Sedibeng, going down to KZN. Those experiences, some suffered out of them, and our families suffered a lot and did not benefit anything. So these are things that we really need to sit down and look at them and see how do we redress those wrongs. I'm sorry if I forgot other things, but in a nutshell, in trying to respond to questions that were raised in the comments. Thanks for Comrade Cloaks. I think we'll take this aspect of the underground structures, the frontline states, what happened in Mazimbu, for instance, in Dakar, I'm a comrade, the case Lape 18, the experiences of Lusaka, Gochilenje, and all those areas, Kabulawayo and Avondale in Harare, all these need to be brought in actually building this heritage. It's a huge task. It takes us a lifetime. Our children will continue. If we start now establishing that desk and pushing it effective, our children will take over from where we left off. It's quite a lot of elements that we need to cover with regard to heritage. Thanks.
No, awesome. No, thanks, Comrade Castro. That was actually quite comprehensive. Look, I think if we looked at what you proposed as a structure, in the new structure, we seek to remove heritage from being buried under all these other ones, other services. And that's because sometimes when you're feeling lots of pain, hunger, comrades are actually quite destitute and there's a lot of problems and negativity. We lose the good part, which is the heritage part. So now that's why the proposition is to actually separate it even in the new structure and make sure that there is someone who's leading it from there. It mustn't just be a desk. because as you can see, this is more than a desk job. It talks about not only about the future, in terms of where we should be going, but it actually links up very nicely with the past, obviously, and we can use the MK experience in trying to shape up identity for the country as a whole. It's fundamentally important. I mean, like you look at the roots, that were actually used then to actually go out and come in one way or another. And you look at some of those borders today and how people will actually allow foreign immigrants and unknown individuals in easily so, just for taking a 50 rand bribe, or a pack of cigarettes, and that actually shows you the lack of understanding of where we have been, and this is where, with heritage, we can be able to actually just take our people at least to a new level when it comes to that. Okay, are there any other comments or questions?
Perhaps just to come in also there just a little bit there,
Yeah.
Comrade Malik, in terms of having more than a desk. I do agree that we need to have a serious structure, say for example, in terms of in the executive, have somebody that can lead the heritage aspect of it, and also be interconnected with all the other areas like within the movement itself, the ANC itself, that there is a desk, or I know there is if I'm not mistaken, there is somebody responsible for our culture, ANC culture, but I think it should be beefed up to include the element of heritage, and also linking up with the DMV and the Department of Arts and Culture to build that synergy between the various institutions and structures, so that it can go as far as we envisage it to be. And also within the military, in the defense force, and also the reserve force, we should also have an impact, not only in terms of knowledge and maybe written articles or whatever, or artifacts, but we should even impact on the heritage of the defense force. It should not be SADF heritage that is only prominent in the SADF. You can go to facilities all over the country, you'll find the prevalence of British and British and
Scottish
and African heritage. It's dominating in all our units throughout the country. The element that we are part of that SANDF is not really visible. It's something that we really should encourage even our general to start promoting. For example, I was encouraged by there was a comrade, General Solimul, I think is now the ambassador in Uganda. He was the officer commanding at the military academy. When we had to have function, they wanted us to do it the old way, the same old way that SADF was doing. And he said, no, cast, go and speak to Oprah Winston Mampung, get him to come and perform here. Nabo, Tete Babisa, and all those artists to come and perform so that our culture can be really seen. We are not British, we are not only African, but we are South African. So let's make it, our culture be as broad as possible. That is how I managed to engage Nabo Brown's team. We even became friends. Called them to come and perform. They even were able to use the facilities of a military academy to rehearse. And this is what we need to instill. The defense force should not be, we shouldn't be as British as it is right now. We should make it South Africa, uniquely South Africa, with all the elements of our cultures and heritage. MK heritage should also be an inclusive part of that.
Yeah.
SAFDF. Yeah.
Awesome. No, that is good. You are 100% correct again. I mean, on the representativity, we're one of the few countries that actually train its young people to serve foreigners. It's a very strange thing. You go to small countries like Latvia or some of the breakaway Balkan states. You go there, you are actually taught in their own language, and there will be like about 2 million of them. But you go there and study there, it doesn't matter what you're going to study in their language. But in our case, we teach our children medicine and engineering in English, as if they're going to be dealing with foreigners. I mean, at some point, in Tata, there was a situation where I find it quite fascinating because I had to actually help with a bit of translation at some point. There was like a Cuban couple that were actually the only psychiatrists you could find there, in Transkei. And now just try and understand that how do you talk about Ugutwasa and everything else to a Cuban, like someone who speaks Spanish, right? And you have to actually just wonder. This is quite amazing. Just this idea of having to, we had to go outside, to get the help for our people there. But most importantly, is the fact that there is this continuous discord between our people and their needs, and how those needs are met. In this case, of course, heritage has got a huge role to play because it talks to identity and everything else that you've actually said. And of course, there is no culture that's as powerful and strong as a military culture. In this case, MK being an army, it can actually be able to actually influence that dynamic quite well. Ish, your hand is up. You wanted to add something, Ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go ahead, my brother.
It's on the role of the underground.
Okay.
I think we have really not gone into really trying to influence, to speak to those comrades who were there at the boiling point. Because remember, they were linking different stratas and structures of the underground, especially between the political and the military, so it's a vital component that we really have to look at. Can I give an example?
Yeah.
Take a person like the former or the late women's leader in the Western Cape, Mama Muslangu. We all know her as that fighter at the front. But little we know that she was actually MK. You know what I mean? And she was in a unique position. And she actually moved arms from one point to the one point at one emergency thing. Now, I've looked upon what she was, the silver, the medal she got by the president. And she has been recognized for her styling work at the political level. You know what I mean? But her deepest passion was MK. You know what I mean? The underground. So that's just example I wish to. Sometimes I feel to write to the president to say, hey, chief, correct this thing. This is gold. It's our heritage. You know. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, my leader. Sorry, I just realized that I'm muted. But thank you very much for that. Stokes, go ahead.
No, thanks, Commissar. The only challenge I have is that I have a lot of rain this side. But if you lose me, please do indicate. I think I won't emphasize much on what Comrade Ish just said, but we know that most of the numbers in the MK, that structure was very central and important to educate, influence, recruit, and bring people there. But by the time they get there, they were already soldiers before they could touch the car. What I would have said also, Comrade Castro, is the role that was played by Radio Freedom itself and how it captivated our minds and how that was also filtered into other spaces, whether locally or internationally, and how that kept the morale of colleagues and comrades in exile, continuously linking it with the political education that takes place within the commissariat itself. Because that was the very anchor of MK political commitment, as well as the instructions that were coming from the political. MK promoted, or within its culture, it encapsulated the element of continuous learning, whether from the political educational space, but also academically and militarily. Those are very serious components that made up MK. That's why you had people training in Russia, everywhere. But they didn't only go militarily, but they also went academically. And wherever they were, they had a particular way of conduct which was directly linked with the ANC and MK. So you wouldn't miss that part. Whether they are in Zambia or anywhere, you wouldn't miss that part. So to me, it was important that we could do that and be able to influence people or reflect to anybody that you come across that particular type of a character as an ANC, as an MK member. So continuous learning to me speaks to that. How would that all of it? When you go back to the camp of MK, you still know that you're not a Russian or anything that you come from, but you're an MK, and how that education comes into being. The language that developed. MK, we have a particular language, and when I speak to an MK person, and I speak to him about Ipatata or any other thing, and this Keda will be able to relate to the language very quickly, despite that there would have been Swahili Roskians, and so on. But we also developed our own lingo within which we are able to communicate some of the things. So you can drill into that as well and get a lot of of MK within that particular space of language and continuous learning that we exercise, and we saw the MK within it. Thanks, Joe.
Awesome.
You're muted, Joe.
Yeah, no, thanks, leadership. Comrade Castro, do you want to react to that? Otherwise, it's all wonderful inputs.
Yeah. No, these are very important inputs. Yeah. As we develop the document, I think we'll integrate them into our document.
Yeah.
Thanks for the inputs from Comrade Ish, Commander Fox, and also what I wanted to emphasize on was that, for example, people don't even know that the ANC logo was designed by an NK cadre. That's why you see Unomkodo, the shield. It was Comrade Karakash, who designed that logo. Then it had a black hand, and some comrades were even raising it. It's a very interesting also part that can be included into the development of the document around this. I'm even thinking of doing this as my PhD document. Is very fascinating. Yes. No, it's very, the inputs are noted, and we will definitely cover them in the document when we present this maybe to the Unity Conference.
Awesome. Maybe we can find out if there is any other input before we wrap up. I mean, I know we actually started quite late because of a number of reasons, but we're also quite mindful that people have got other things to do, other than listening to us. So maybe we can actually just take another hand if there is any. If not, then of course we can just have a closing comment, and then we take it from there. Any other question, input, comment? Comandante Songo, adelante.
Yeah, thanks. Just to comment and appreciate what Comrade Castro has done, and the comment of other comrades. And thank you very much for that, comrade. I just think maybe we can add that in what Luke was saying, the language that developed by MK cadres, depending on where they trained at various times. In Angola, they would have had their language. GDR, they would have had their language. From the Soviet Union, they would have had their language. Some of the terms that come from that particular part of the training, those who trained in Yugoslavia, Bulgaria would have had all their languages. And those who trained in Egypt, when I to the detachment and so on, would have their language, their terms that they were used. Those who trained in Tanzania, Congo. So if it's possible, of course, to get all those languages, lingos, I would say, lingos, not really, but snippets of languages that reflect where the country of training was. It would be highly appreciated for culture, because now it would show in future that we're actually influenced by these people. And it also will remove the myth that some of these people who are here in South Africa today actually supported us. People who supported us, we still carry their languages with us. We still speak Portuguese, we still speak Swahili, still speak a little bit of Arab, Russian, German. These are the people who actually
influencers. And these are the people who, when they are here in South Africa, we understand because we lived in their countries. And some of the people, of course, we didn't really live in their countries. So even if they claim today they've supported us, they didn't really support us. So I think that will be part of addition to Castro's dissertation of a PhD. Thank you very much.
Well, it looks like you just got a kick in the butt there, my friend. So if you need any motivation, you already have it. So that's good. Yeah. But thanks, Omri. Thank you very much for that. Well, comrades, I think in the absence of any other comment, maybe we should then just ask Comrade Castro if he has got any closing remark that you would like to make, if still any, and then we so that we can close it on our side as well. Do you want to make any last comment, maybe?
I think I've done my closing remarks. It's just that
Yes, I know.
I just want to emphasize that we need to own our heritage, comrade. It's upon our shoulders. Nobody else will promote and champion our cause except ourselves. Thanks.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Castro. Now, comrades, I'm sure as you listen to this session today, and of course the previous ones as well, we realize how important the conference is for ExMK to take place, because that's the vehicle we can actually use to actually power through all these type of ideas. So those who are in the know, please make sure that you can help everybody else to make sure that at some point we do have that conference, and then people can understand that it is more than just a leadership issue. It is about bigger issues that we can be able to actually drive through a legitimate, organized structure in the form of an ExMK veteran structure. So I think that is just one part that it's actually quite clear to me when I listen to Comrade Castro. And of course, hopefully we'll be able to understand that culture is not an event, it's a continuous process. And, heritage is not something we should just read about and forget. It's something we do on a daily basis. And it's who we are as part of our heritage. And we definitely have a lot to contribute. I think on my side, that would be that. Other than thanking everybody else, that would be. Now, sorry, just folks, is this an old hand or a new hand?
No, Chair. I know that it's very annoying, but here is a point with the foundation that we have. It is about this very aspect that we don't necessarily have to wait for anybody, because it's our foundation that is intended to preserve the heritage and the culture of MK. Somehow, as Comrade Comrade Mina would have proposed, a route into the ANC educational system, but it should also begin to become one of that particular aspect where the foundation itself begins to look into this aspect very seriously and anchor itself around this particular one. Comrade Casco, the last thing is that the communication system in MK was in itself a very serious art. There were no cell phones, but we could communicate down to South Africa to an individual who's somewhere in a very remote space. How that communication went there is part of that heritage. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, I mean, we still talk of Kulikov even today, just to actually just add, to that. But thank you very much, comrades. There is no point of detaining anyone here any further. Please stay safe and enjoy your evening. Amanda.
Thanks, Commissar. No, we've joined late.
No worries, you here. Enjoy your
Comrade
evening.
Malik. Yes, thank you, Commissar. No, we've joined late. We are busy, a little bit busy nowadays.
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like it. You are leading. So, I mean, those who are in power, they don't sleep. So we can afford to sleep, not you.
Okay.
But the power slipped off Malik, man. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay, good.
comrade,
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it's because people are yeah, wasn't do, but like it's them. You know, they're sleep. They are
we
working,
can't.
but you don't see the outcomes. You know,
Hey, Malik.
all we
Malik,
see
you
is
can
a sea
say,
of blue in the
hey, man,
province.
it's a problem if you reflect properly, only 43% voted.
Sorry, folks. Sorry, folks. Comrades, the meeting is off now. The session is off. So those who want
Yes.
to actually just leave, they can. Now, in the it's we're just chatting now.
Yeah, we
So
just
Yeah,
chatting.
yeah,
smart
yeah.
chat.
No,
Okay,
that's
in case
it.
people
Mean
think
I
that there is
43% voted in Gauteng, and if it's a majority, government of the majority. It's a conundrum whether this the legitimacy of government in
It's
Gauteng
a
is a
conundrum
problem.
question that we need to ask.
Yeah.
It's a conundrum question that we need to ask and put some answers. Folks,
Yeah.
we are
Yeah.
all,
No.
we need to find answers.
And it's problematic, Malik, that overall ANC nationally, we only got 48%. And it's a serious problem that we could not get 50% just national. We dropped a lot, and there's a problem there.
well, if you don't know what to do with power, my friend, that's what happens. You know, like power does slip through your
We
fingers.
have scaling down.
Yeah, but
Just
but
down.
no reason to despair. Now, what we actually need is a fight back, because that's one thing. If there is anything we know, is to fight. So we you know, we just need to roll our sleeves now and service our people and make sure that we deliver. But then we have to fix MK. Those who are actually in the Veterans League, they have to fix the Veterans League. You know, we have to fix the Women's League, and we have to help the Youth League, so that effectively we can sort out the leadership, the entire leadership of our movement. I mean,
Part of your theory is that our people were your bushes, where you could hide. Now you don't have those bushes because they've left to the next door. The problem that you have, Malik, is that you are left with provincial and national government. And if there's any performance that will take
Which
place
is
in
bad.
terms of service delivery, you would be amplifying these municipalities that have taken over from you. So the implication is that your people will start thinking that the delivery is happening because there's a new blue party that is delivering, whereas you would be trying to impress them against what they know and what they're getting today. It might be a problem for us.
yeah. Well, that's our role. That's what we have to do. That is effectively what you have to do. We have to fix it. I mean, you break it, you fix it, right? There is nobody else who's going to fix this other than us. Yeah.
It's a learning curve. I think we should learn from this.
Yeah.
And be
Comrade
able
Castro,
to-
I'm trying to get my screen back from you. I'm like struggling to do so.
what should I do? Should I click on
Yes, just
the tray?
stop the presentation.
Yeah, I've clicked on the tray now. Are you able to get it back?
It says your request for control was not accepted, so you need to accept that, because I did yield that to you so that you can present. And now
what do I do from my side?
Yeah,
I've closed the open share trade.
yeah, because the thing is, this thing is actually streaming on YouTube and Facebook on the at the back. So and like my
And I
As soon as you
saw that
as soon as you
I
switch
saw
off
that
that,
there was also a recording somehow.
yeah, no,
right.
the recording, I was in control of that, but
It's saved
Okay.
already.
yeah,
Everything is saved already.
yeah, yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted to stop the streaming on the other side because the last thing you want to be skinnering, and then all of a sudden, whatever you're skinnering about.
It comes to say Puma news.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So that is technology. But Comrade Tipua, please, when you've got time, just make sure that you prepare something for us on on that CADA development thing, please. That would be very helpful in the new year, that is. And Ambassador T, I think when when you're in a good space, I know you're stuck where you are now, and you miss us a lot where we are. It will actually be quite good at some point to have something on feminism. Like on gender issues. Why can't you actually just convert the women's league into a very strong, pragmatic feminist movement that can actually just outvote all these men and put the leadership that they want, and actually just deal with the whole women's struggle once and for all. I think something like that will actually be quite helpful.
Is that for real, Commissar?
It is. Apparently,
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
What will be the game then?
Sorry?
What will be the end game?
Look, just think about it a little bit. Think about it a little bit. How long will the struggle for women's rights last? Because every time when you're almost closer, and then they're like about 3, 4, 5 steps backwards.
Okay.
It's probably the oldest struggle. I mean, it's much more long. It's much more longer than slavery, and slavery is gone, and it's longer than racism. And it seems like there is absolutely very limited movement. Of course, there is movement in certain areas. You see progress here and there and all this, but at some point this has to actually end. They women have to be free. In all sense of the word. Now, currently, what you see with the women's league is all these mixed messages most of the time. Where you ask yourself, are these people pro women for real, or they're pro, anything, for that matter? So you just need a clear ideology, on some of these issues, so that you can have measurable targets, qualitative change. I can't see
In that respect, yes. In that
I can't see the
respect,
women's
yes.
league achieving that as it is.
And also considering the current challenge we have of gender-based violence, it's a security issue. It's a national security issue. We can't overlook it. We need to do something about it.
Chief,
And really, these are issues that we have to grapple with and deal with effectively.
I mean, you can't operate with less than half your brain. Currently, women are actually about 52% minimum of the population. So suppressing it, and you still hope to win. This, I mean, there is absolutely no sense in all of this. And for me, my biggest frustration, why I'm asking this question, is that it has got to do with the whole quota issue, because it creates other problems. Now, where we then have these demands that let 50% of all positions be women. Now, this creates a big problem for me, because I'm like thinking, does that mean you have to overlook very good, capable comrades purely because they're men, instead of actually making sure that you've got a fair playing field? Like women can play as they should at any role, any role that they can, because they're capable. In fact, they're more than capable. Like there are studies and studies that actually prove this. They are more than capable of actually achieving a little bit more than they're actually given and doing more. So the question is, why must we then almost reduce women's rights into quotas, almost like SASA approach, instead of actually just helping them to be free, and they must tell us, what freedom means to them. And we actively, as the ANC, as MK, and of course in the women's league as well, we make sure that MK, if possible, they actually take over the women's league and drive this issue, force the issue, and make sure that we do not have a situation whereby women, they continue supporting their own oppression, because that's one thing that you will see. The majority of the causes behind why, or rather the reasons why some of these fights are unending, it's women. Like they're doubting themselves, and they're doubting other women, and they rather align themselves with strong men. You might recall the whole debate about ANC presidents at some point, where a women's league leadership said women are not ready to lead, and I think,
Okay. Yes. No, I didn't see it from that angle. It's the lens that we need to use going forward. But we need to, yes, you're correct. We need to start, embracing it and start, making some inputs on it. But we need to, you see, my problem is that we cannot drive it. We need to allow women to be the drivers and be within,
I have a different view. I have a different view in the sense that, one, um, liberty. You can't say these ones, they cannot fight for this. When you are actually the ones who are responsible for the oppression.
okay, yeah, yes.
And in some way, historically, that's the same argument that during slavery was there, where is it going to be the slaves alone who actually have to deliver the freedom, or some slave masters have got a role to play too in actually letting go? And at the end, it became a joint project, because then, by the time Lincoln and others, they abolished slavery, at least you had a bit of change at that level. So it's a joint venture. That's my say. I mean, like, of course, you're not going to run the women's league. They will, they must. But we have to play our part too, as men. And that's because you don't need you don't need breasts and the uterus in order to understand the pain you're actually inflicting on women. I mean, we all have mothers, we have got daughters, we have got wives, and what you're doing to them is actually unbearable. And it would be nice, if Sister Angie could actually run with something like this to see if there is a way out of this stalemate, because I see a stalemate. But of course, I mean, Comrade Tipuo is articulated very well the whole issue of a possible two-tier system on the ANC. Remember when we were dealing with Omri's "Can one member one vote save the ANC" topic, and it is clear if you look at the at various models that we actually need to redesign the ANC to take care of these elements, and actually ask ourselves if our membership structure is actually quite correct or we need something different. Everybody can be a member, but not everyone can be a cater. Something like along those lines, and then but effectively people will graduate into catership from membership, and you have your leadership from catership, because those are the people who see it as a life mission to be in the front end of the changes that we want. Those are the type of discussions I think will actually help us quite a lot once we are off this MK focused sessions.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's just ideas. I mean, ideas from a madman, as you know.
That's right. We'll
Yeah.
throw in, some rationale today. To
No,
this.
that's fine. Okay, comrades. Thanks, then. Good night.
Fine.
Sure.
Fine.